commanders, politically speaking, you appreciate the fact that they are also deployed elsewhere. Our visitors from abroad, from the continent, who have arrived in the city, landed here, fetched from the airport, from Malaysia, UK, Russia, Iceland, Estonia, UAE, our friends from Kenya, a number of colleagues who came from other countries in the continent. We think that we are blessed to have you in our shores. The global community is quite excited about the fact that all of us are here, as indicated by Gqeberha, the first in the South African soil. Just recently, we had the first G20 in the African continent and the first in South Africa, which was hailed as the best ever after the many that were held. One hopes and wishes that this one that is held in South Africa for the first time in the Eastern Cape here now is going to be the most successful, judging by the responses received from across a number of other bodies that are members of this structure. We hosted the World Cup in 2010 and were the first African continent, the African country, the continent, to host the World Cup in 2010. It does appear that we become the first in many of the things that we do across the globe. So I think our guests, as they come from abroad, they must begin to realize that we are leaders in the pack in the continent and possibly leaders in the pack across the globe as well, in a number of areas. So as I stand today, we really must sincerely support the participation of everybody else in the INSARAG community for the earthquake response exercise. This city, where you are now, is one of the cities that is very much prone to flood and drought disasters. For the past number of years, we had to deal with drought disasters and dealt with a lot of flood disasters for the past number of years. So we are in an environment that is quite readily geared to begin to deal with matters around disasters. The machinery on the ground here has taught us that collaboration, partnership, working together is unavoidable. So we must work together to begin to ensure that we succeed in ensuring that our people on the ground are rescued quite speedily. Over the past number of years, we have learned to be much more agile, responsive, learn to adapt, and learn to deploy quite quickly. Over the past number of weeks, we picked up that the preparations done by the various teams were well organized by the PDMC and DMC team, working together with the city. And I think I must be able to say that we commend your commitment, the expertise, the energy in strengthening the global disaster response capacity. We really must appreciate that. It was very, very, very commendable. We do know, as the executive director had said, that this is not just about training, it's about the investments in the safety, resilience, and future commitments worldwide. So we do note that part as well. Over the past number of years, we realized that in the city, practice provides a bit of perfection. So we've been trying to perfect our systems from time to time by practicing. And I think what we'll be doing here today and this week on practicing the scenarios and in refining procedures and enhancing the interoperability was going to help us a great deal in terms of building the necessary capacity we so require in the city here. Ultimately, in the province, in the country, we think that we must be able to restore a bit of hope, a bit of trust, and in terms of determining our preparedness every time there's going to be disasters. As I said, we have had evolving types of disasters which have forced us to begin to work collaboratively. We have realized that no single organization in the country, in the world, can work alone if we are to effectively and efficiently deal with challenges of disasters. We have learned that over the past number of years, and I think that's the reason why we have sought to begin to ensure that we collaborate quite extensively in terms of the work we do. The participation then of the many bodies in this meeting reaffirms the shared commitment towards the principles of cooperation, coordination, and continuous learning. I think we must actually appreciate that. They do come in very handy in enhancing the capabilities of the global community. We really must appreciate that. So I want to thank you very much for the professionalism that has been shown in the preparations for what we have now today, the unwavering service that was displayed by the teams that are working on this session, And we do hope that the days between now and Friday, when we do the actual assessment, will give us better results in terms of what we have achieved. On that note, I wish to pledge as a provincial department our support to the initiative of this global effort that has been undertaken here. Thanks very much, Program Director.
Thank you very much, HOD. Well, as I'm saying HOD, I'm just triggered because of the many acronyms we have been learning from the planning of the session. So HOD is head of department in South Africa. So thank you. It's always amazing because the HOD does not only attend when there is a crisis, he's always there. We feel his support as the HOD and we appreciate it. Thank you, sir. At this stage, we'd like to please call Mr. Martin. Pardon me, sir. Viersma, yes. International Search and Rescue Group Global Lead. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very good morning. Thank you. Excellencies, distinguished guests, colleagues, and friends. On behalf of the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, based in Geneva, let me start by warmly welcoming you all to this 2025 Africa, Europe, Middle East Earthquake Response Exercise. It's a pleasure to join you here at the Nelson Mandela University, and I would like to start with extending our appreciation to the government of the Republic of South Africa, particularly to the Honourable President Gary van Niekerk, Deputy Executive Mayor of the Nelson Mandela Bay Metropolitan Municipality, and in his stead, Mr. Sevilla. Mr. Voyo Mlokoti, Head of the Department, Province of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs in the Eastern Cape, Mr. Mbuelelo Tsangana, Director General of Cooperative Governance, Ministry of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, and also Advocate Lonwabo Ngoko, Acting City Manager, Nelson Mandela Bay Metro. Last but not least, I would like to extend a special thanks to Dr. Bongani Elias Sitole and his entire team from the National Disaster Management Center of South Africa. And he is also serving as the team is serving as the INSARAG national focal point. The Africa, Europe, and Middle East region encompasses a diverse and vast landscape of nations, cultures, and communities. The region faces unique challenges, which we heard already, particularly here where we are today, in disaster preparedness and response, which our efforts must account for. Our goal is, and always must be, to save lives and reduce suffering regardless of borders or politics. This posture allows us to operate effectively, ensuring that aid reaches those who need it in the most without any delay. The earthquake response exercise is not just a test of our processes, it's an essential step in ensuring that we are ready when disaster strikes. Preparation is a vital aspect of any response. The more prepared we are, the quicker and more efficiently we can act. In the face of an earthquake or any disaster, every second matters. The efforts we put into planning and preparation now will pay off when lives will be on the line. This exercise will provide us with important insights into how we can further improve and enhance our coordination mechanisms to respond swiftly in South Africa, in the region, and beyond. I encourage you all to approach this exercise with a sense of collaboration within your network and across networks. We can strengthen our response through cooperation and shared learning to to be better prepared for our next call. I would like to apologize on behalf of Mr. Sebastian Rood-Stampa, who has visited this particular site not that long ago, and he is sending warm regards from Jerusalem, where he is deployed at this very moment. I would also like to mention that I would say the world is watching. I just came back from the regional INSARAG meeting in the Americas, held in Curitiba, Brazil, where the INSARAG focal points have expressed interest indeed in the lessons learned from the exercise that we will be undertaking here in the region. So you are, in that sense, not alone. The entire INSARAG network is looking forward to its outcomes and is willing to provide support where would be required. I would like to once again thank our host, particularly the National Disaster Management Center, and especially Dr. Elias Sitole, and also Mr. Japi Lengua-Bala, the Deputy Director of Fire Services and the National Exercise Director, the exercise control members, and all who supported the preparations of this exercise. Finally, I would like to extend my thanks to all of you for your engagement and dedication. Your contributions are vital to the success of the network, and this is indeed about sharing the best practices among the network, whether this is doing an INSARAG external classification or a reclassification following a disaster. We continue to update our methodology, of which at the Secretariat in Geneva we happen to be the custodian, but we very much rely on your engagement and your input and support. Thank you. I wish you a very fruitful coming few days, and I look forward to discussing with you and to the outcomes of this week. Thank you. Back to you.
We have so just. Thank you very much, sir. We as South Africa, we really are humbled to learn that we are now entering the global stage, because we cannot work in silos. Disasters know no boundaries. So with the support, we are grateful. We have learned a lot so far, and we're looking forward to learning throughout the week. And to add, research is also confirming that with the climate change, we are likely to face more frequent and higher magnitude of disasters. So we have no choice but to be better prepared and take the lessons from countries that are doing well so that we can improve as a country. Now we'd like to call Mr. Mbulelo Jangana, who's the Director General Cooperative Governance, who must say as well as the Metro and as the province in general that his support for the province has been remarkable. Remember when one arrived here in October 2024, there was a floods, disasters. So he was here for assisting with the impact assessment and the relief. Further to that, he came also to assist the Metro and all the municipalities in the province, basically, to ensure that we receive the grant funding, both response and recovery. So over to you, sir. We acknowledge and appreciate you. Thanks.
Good morning. I know it's a Monday, we can still do better than that. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, Program Director, you did not complete the story, that we gave you the money and you didn't spend all of it. But that's a discussion for another day. Program Director, let me acknowledge you first, Dr. Nyide. You're doing very well, I must say. You're managing time very well. Honorable Deputy Executive Mayor of Nelson Mandela Bay, in absentia, we are told he's not well. Please get well soon, sir. The representative of the International Search and Rescue Advisory Group, Secretariat, and the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, distinguished international delegations, and the Urban Search and Rescue Teams, esteemed colleagues from the national and provincial disaster management centers, representatives of local government, emergency services, and first responders, the HOD of Kokta in Eastern Cape, Babumlogot, Ziz, ladies and gentlemen, and once again, good morning. It is a profound honor to join you this morning as we officially open the Africa, Middle East, and Europe Earthquake Response Exercise 2025. On behalf of the Ministry and the Department of Cooperative Governance, I extend the warmest welcome to all participants, both local and international. We have traveled to South Africa to be part of this critical engagement. This exercise arrives at a pivotal moment for our region and our world. Disaster risk is intensifying, driven by rapid urbanization, climate change, infrastructure vulnerabilities, and the increasing complexity of emergency environments. Now more than ever, our collective readiness to respond swiftly, effectively, and in coordinated manner is not simply desirable, it is essential. The Africa, Europe, Middle East Earthquake Response Exercise is therefore not just an exercise. It is a strategic investment in our shared resilience. And I want to repeat that. It is a strategic investment in our shared resilience. It brings together the combined capabilities of national authorities, provincial and local disaster managers, urban search and rescue teams, medical teams, researchers, and humanitarian partners. Together, you present the full ecosystem of disaster response excellence. For South Africa, hosting this exercise is deeply significant. Over the past 2 years, we have placed strong emphasis on strengthening our national fire services, enhancing our disaster management frameworks, professionalizing our emergency response systems. The National Disaster Management Center, headed by Dr. Stoll, continues to drive reforms that ensure South Africa is aligned with global best practice, including the International Search and Rescue Advisory Group methodologies, UN responses standards, and multi-sphere coordination mechanism. We take immense pride in the approval of the National Fire Services 2030 Strategic Roadmap. Roland, where's Roland? Yes, he's been driving this particular program with all the passion that it deserves. So we take immense pride in the approval of the National Fire Services 2030 Strategic Roadmap, the revitalization of oversight structures such as the Fire Brigade Board is now up and running. There's been a lull for some time, but the Fire Brigade Board is now up and running. And the growing collaboration between government and also the collaboration between government, international partners, and local response agencies. This exercise further confirms or affirms our commitment to building a modern, capable, and unified disaster response architecture. The AEME Earthquake Response Exercise is designed to test the full spectrum of international coordination mechanisms, including the virtual on-site Operations Coordination Center, the International Search and Rescue Advisory Group Coordination and Management System, the Urban Search and Rescue Coordination Cell, local authority interface with international teams, and the complete operational cycle from mobilization to demobilization. These are not theoretical components. They are real-world tools that saves lives when disasters strike. By engaging in this exercise, we affirm our shared responsibility to ensure that when our communities call for help, we are ready, competent, coordinated, and united. To our international colleagues, thank you for your commitment to global solidarity. Your presence here demonstrates the strength of INSARAG network and the unwavering dedication to mutual support during times of crisis. To our South African participants, let us seize the opportunity to learn, to refine our systems, to test our readiness, to measure ourselves against the highest global standards. Every lesson learned here strengthens our ability to protect our people. Program Director, as we begin this week of intense learning, collaboration, and simulation, let us do so with a shared belief that preparedness is the foundation of resilience, that partnerships are the currency of effective disaster management, and that together we can build safer, stronger, and more resilient communities across the region and the world. It is my privilege to declare this Africa, Europe, Middle East Earthquake Response Exercise 2025 officially open. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Great message. You have indeed represented us well in front of all the international delegates. So thank you so much. At this stage, we have a group photo for the participants. The last time when we had an event, Provincial International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction, Ms. Jama, the HOC, Eastern Cape, I think she handled this aspect, excuse me, very well. So over to you, ma'am, to please guide us in terms of protocol, how best, and then the media colleagues to also advise us where and how. Thank you. Over to you. Our head of center, Eastern Cape Provincial Data Management Center. So, and then from their colleagues, then we'll break for tea. Yes. So as in South Africa, even if you're not hungry, it is an offense not to take food when you are offered. Please drink a cup of hot water, even if you won't take a sandwich or anything that is prepared. Thank you. Over to you, ma'am.
You've caught me off guard, let me say so. And I must practice a disaster response, even in this case. We must be responsive. Good morning to the DG. Good morning, HOD. Good morning, Dr. Sithole. Good morning, sir. Good morning to all the dignitaries we have. Good morning to the people who exercise the call phase. of any eventuality, we are proud of you as people who are within the disaster management space. I think we can use this setup because we already have our flags. The lighting looks okay. So we will just move the podium and the stand, and then we will move the flag to the front so that we can be behind it. In terms of protocol, can I have the senior leaders please coming to the front first? Is it possible to have few loose chairs from outside? If we can have maybe 10 or 15, please colleagues, so that we don't waste a lot of time. Can we please move, if it is possible to move it, and I will also, I think this can move as well. Then our leaders can come to the front, and then we will start coming. Sorry, there is a slight change. Maybe, Doc, through you, can we take a quick tea break while we are sorting the scenery? Through you, my colleague, can we please take a quick break? In about 5-10 minutes, we would have set up. Thank you. Can we please have a roving mic? Can we all converge outside for the pictures? We are ready. If I can have a roving mic, please, communications team. Can we please converge outside? I need all the user SA team members. All user SA team members sitting down, please. User, if you are user, please sit down. Tell us, yes. User team members. User team members, can you please come close, colleagues? User team members. Yes, you can sit down. User. There's about 37 of you and I don't see you here. Please come. User leader, please help us there. Okay, thank you. All the user team members, please let us converge. Can we? No, Ben sitting is ohlala phansi mina mhlekazi then ke ngoku bahlala apha emacaleni. Andibazi ba. Kodwa bensithi singabe siqalisa u-40. If you are user SA, please find a seat and stand behind. User, please. Okay. Media team, are we ready to take pictures? Media team, are we ready to take picture? Cala simenge cala ne. Yabona German mega cala meganje. Yes, then cala size sondele ke. Please then in between uvelo buso, yabo? The cut-off line yethu is in, yeah, can you please? USAR members, who is the USAR team leader? Anibasi mhlekazi but bengicela singaqala sithathe pictures then kokhethwa kuzo. Hayi angoyusa wena yini? Can we, sis, can you please sit with, yeah. USAR, please, can we test the picture, colleagues? I don't see a single camera here. We are wasting time. Where is our communications, colleagues? Where is our communications? Where is the camera? Thank you. Nancy, first picture. Sure. All right. Sorry, can you please move this way a little bit? John, I get good photo. Nothing that side, nothing there. Okay, please, we can go ahead. How are you? I'm good. I'm good. No problem. Yeah, you're welcome.
Sorry.
Sis Asa? Are we, colleagues, on the count to one, media is going to start taking pictures whether you are talking or not. So I'm counting down to 1 from 3. And after that, the picture is going to go. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Okay, can we have the ISA joining the picture? ISA team members, please join the picture. ISA, can you please join the pictures? ISA. ISA. And you can then join the picture.
Get you another chair. You're going to stand.
But I need you as ISA to also join the picture. There's 4 of you, where are others? We can take pictures and you can go and join. Okay.
You want us to join now?
Yes, now. ISA, yes. Excuse me, please go and join the picture. Why are you allowed to find space? Yes, perfect. Yes, we work, yeah. If all the faces are visible, ne? All ISA members are in the picture now, ne? There's 4 of you, if I remember. Okay. On the count of 3, 2, 1, let's go. Okay, can we have USAR Team Ireland joining the picture? Sorry about that. Yes. Can we have Ireland USAR team joining the picture, please? Iceland, sorry. Hey. Yes, can we join the picture? Can you please find a slot here? You can kneel, you can sit here at the front. Yes, please. Team Iceland, are you all there? Please be mindful. Yes. That's another plane. Colleagues, can on the count of 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Okay, before you disembark, which group have we not incorporated in terms of USAR. Kenya, please join the picture. Team Kenya. Team Kenya, where are we? Please come to the front. You can. Team Kenya. Who am I missing? Sorry? Okay, thank you, colleagues. Can we have Estonia coming to join the picture? Estonia, please come and join the picture. Okay, you can. Did we do 3, 2, 1 here? Okay, let us do 3, 2, 1 again, colleagues. On the count of 3, 2, 1, let's go. 3, 2, 1. Let's do the. Okay, thank you. We have got the Team Russia, where are we? Team Russia. Team Russia, where are we? Yes, thank you. Okay, on the count of 3, 2, 1. On the count of 3, 2, 1, colleagues will go. 3, 2, 1, let's go. All right, can we then have representation according to your leaders? We need to have the local organizing team joining the photo with the leaders of each and every country. So you know your Iceland rep, you know your Estonian rep, and you know your USAR SA01 rep. So if we can do that, please. And let us not go that far. We're still taking pictures. Are they also? Okay. Colleagues, can we please don't go too far? We still don't have the DG with us. We don't have the national head of center. We are still waiting for them. Please don't go too far. We need the leaders, local organizing team. Ntate Japi and NTMC colleagues, PTMC colleagues, the heads of the organizing teams. Yes, they are part of, you were part of the picture for Estonia. Okay, okay. So do we have representation now? Oh, Babi or Doc, not DG. Doc and DG. Okay. Okay, colleagues, Jabi and the team that was organizing, I'll also join.
I don't know where Jennifer and Chantal.
Please, all of us. Okay, local organizing team. Ex-con members, please join. On the count of 3, 2, 1, let's take the picture. I'm counting now. 3, 2, 1. Three, 2, 1, let's go. Okay, which category, colleagues? We need every colleague. We've got the Lemma ex-con, please come on board. So all the locals from Nelson Mandela, we are called local organizing team. Can you please come according to our protocol, all of us, please? We've got Metro, we've got Sandaf, we've got EMS. Can you please take that picture? All the Metro colleagues, we are taking that. Please don't leave. Okay, all the colleagues, ex-con Lima, please. I don't see SAPS. I don't see EMS. SAPS, please come and join. I don't see Dr. Nyite and her team. I don't see traffic police. Are we in a position now to start? I'm doing the countdown. Dr. Nyite, all the teams are here. Nelson Mandela. SAPS, please come and join according to the protocol. Colleagues, I've observed all protocols. Please allow me to just manage the photo shoot. Nelson Mandela Metro, I know that there's 20 of us in total. Where are other colleagues? Disaster management? Okay, on the count of 3, 2, 1. On the count of 3, 2, 1, let's go. 3, 2, 1. Take. Another one. Colleagues, which other category is not here yet? Represented. Communications team, please help us.
They are using them in the interview there at the back.
Oh, okay. Okay, we'll just wait. Ne? Whose phone is this? Colleagues, there is a media briefing currently underway, so most of the team members are there. When they are back, please don't go too far. Please help me there. We are going. Please help me when they come. Ne? We are going to have the front rows seated, the second and third rows standing, the fourth row standing on the chairs. Ne? So we will be 4 rows. So please help me when they come back so that we do it faster. Thank you. Okay, basically they are having a media. So, and
academic sessions, and then there's a tea break, and then they all come back. The academic sessions are happening that side. Then there's a tea break, and then Yapi's going to do a briefing, and then we're going to have the break in emergency. Oh, okay. We are giving this to them as well.
Can you hand out?
all right, so I will update to Dr. Nita about this one.
Yeah, I told Dr. Gqeberha, but I also know there's too many things happening in these
No, it's fine.
So after lunch, to
And you need to prepare the 4 that I'm having. Remember, you are Lima.
so
I've got people to support you, but I need to hand them over to you.
all right, once we are done with taking pictures, I'm going to request a presentation we're already doing with there's a colleague assisting me there. One presentation is ready, the one talking to the arrangements. That's the one we did last week, so that one is ready. I'm requesting that we take one group picture, just one more picture, colleagues, with the DG as well as the National Head of Center. If team leaders can help me organize their teams outside. Yes, we have got 4 rows. First row reserved for the dignitaries, and then the second and third row standing. The fourth row, please stand on the chairs. So can we please come outside, sir, just for a group picture? All the dignitaries, we are seated. The dignitaries, we are seated. Then 2 rows standing. The last row, we are standing on the chairs. The sooner we do it, the sooner we get back to our program. 2 rows standing. Then the last row, we are standing on the chairs. Sir, can you please come and sit here at the front? Our dignitaries, colleagues, are going to sit in the front row. Please proceed. We have 2 rows standing. Then yes, there we go. So move these chairs towards the front. 2 rows standing in between the chairs, please. I request colleagues that we go and join. I don't see our communications. Can we please find a seat here? The leaders, the team leaders, please go and be seated. All of us, let's stand in 2 rows. The last row. So your team leader sits here. Then, no, all of us are going. The team leader sits. The other colleagues stand at the back. Please. We have got the front row for the team leaders. 1 team leader at the front and our dignitaries. 2 rows standing. 1 row standing on the chairs. If we don't have enough chair, please grab a chair. Okay, thank you, but can you please go and join the picture? So, team leader, you sit. The team members, they stand in the 2 rows, and you stand on the chair, please. Colleagues, you will not be visible. Please grab a chair and stand on the chair. Basathathe zabi photo. Can team leaders assist me, colleagues, with their team members? We need a little bit of organization now. I'm requesting that we grab chairs. Colleagues, Sopinda 30 photo, please. Sopinda 30 photo, you are delaying the entire group. I request the team leaders, colleagues, to instill a little bit of order with team members. Can we please grab chairs so that we stand on chairs here? Can all colleagues please go and join the picture if you don't mind? You can even kneel down here, colleagues. We just need everyone in one picture. Yes, you can. You can kneel down here. You can sit here. Okay. Do we have all the teams represented? Which country is not there? Which country is not represented? Are all the teams represented? Locally, Nelson Mandela Metro. I also don't see the head of center for Nelson Mandela Metro. Can we have, colleagues, all the, are we represented in the picture? Okay. Are we represented, colleagues? Where will be my spot, Kanen? I want to be part of the pictures now as well. That's, okay, please move this side. I'd like to sit somewhere here, if you can move one, if you don't mind. And then, I don't see Dr. Nyide, the head of center for the Metro, colleagues. Still outside, okay. I see the national head of center is here, so we may not necessarily wait, because Dr. All right, we are going to take pictures. Thank you so much. We are done with the pictures. We can take our individual pictures.
Good morning once again, delegates. Let's please reconvene and continue. Thank you. Are we ready to proceed? Can you please settle down? Gezola? Okay. Let's please get ready to proceed. Thank you. I hope we all had a great tea and lunch break, and the pictures were all smiling. That's beautiful. So at this point, we're doing well with time. So for now, we're just 30 minutes behind schedule, but we'll manage, I believe. We have 3 announcements, please. Number 1, we've been advised that the area where there are emergency vehicles and equipment, that side, they're being displayed. So if you get an opportunity, let's please go that side to take pictures, to see the vehicles that are used in South Africa for emergency response, as well as the equipment that is used. That we are not far off from the global world. And then the second one is that for the colleagues or the officials that have not registered, let's please go to the opposite room, get this check to make sure that you're all registered. And the third one, in front of us, there is a QR code. If you could just scan it, then you'll have the program. Those are the 3 announcements. At this point, I would like to call Mr. Lenwabala, the National Exercise Director, who's a Deputy Director at the National Disaster Management Center, Fire Services. Introduction and overview of the program. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll start first by greeting our principals and then the head of the National Disaster Management Center, and then Dr. Stolle, and then all the senior principals in the house, and then all protocol observed. And then I just want to greet everyone, all technicians, different role players in this exercise, and then everybody in the house. Is it good morning or good afternoon? Good morning to all of you. Thank you very much. First of all, I also wanted to say thank you very much to the head and then of the National Disaster Management Center, and then Dr. Setole, by giving us this opportunity and then to host this event. Actually, he had a trust on us, and then as a collective. Yes, to be honest, I was elected as the program director, but I need to inform everyone that this was the work of the collective. And then when I say the collective, I'm saying from his office, from the to the province, and even the local authority. Maybe you can give yourself a round of applause. My job for now is very simple. It's just to clarify that we did go through the first session where our political principals was maybe welcoming you, addressing yourself, and then that's how the program went. Now, what is going to be happening from now, colleagues? And then you'll see there will be, I'm saying this because there was few changes and then that we had in our program. And then I'm aware that some of the members are not having the same program with others. Now, we just want to apologize with that because there were some changes. I think you heard when the principals was presenting to say that some of our guests, which were expected to be here, they couldn't make it because of some emergencies and so forth. Now, because of that, we just wanted to say to yourselves, thank you very much for coming. And then what will be happening, as you know that this is all about the earthquake, and then also the serious flooding thereafter. We are all aware of that, and then we all agree in terms of that is what we are here for. I've been told that I mustn't get into the details of the scenario because by accident I might give the answers to yourself being not aware. Now, please, I won't touch that one. But what I can say is what will be happening from now, and then we'll just finish the program, just the academic, and then program as it is here. And then the doctor, which is our program director, will call all those members for the presentation. But after that, colleagues, and I'm saying that after lunch, which will be at 2 o'clock, and then please take note that you'll be expected and then to go to the following breakaway rooms. And then by the breakaway rooms, you will see that when we go out of the door behind me, and then we'll be all turning to me the right, I think to you is the left. We'll be turning to the left, go throughout the building. You'll see when you go out, there will be an area that is designated for showcasing the equipment that we have and whatever. And then that is where we said everybody that has got something to advertise and whatever, and then please, that is the space for yourselves. And I see that that space is not yet full. It means that you didn't bring everything that you have. Please think about what we can bring, the one that we are using in line with what we are dealing with. And then please, the space is still galore. Then after that, what we can be saying is after lunch, and then that move will be made, and then at 2 o'clock. And then we are saying that the members of UNDAC, the UNDAC team members, and then they will be going to the very same building that we're talking about, and then where the breakaway rooms are. And then, but you will be divided in the following order. And then the first one, it will be room number 16. That will be the room for the UNDAC members or the UNDAC team. They will be going to room number 16. And then USAR and UCC, and then they will find Mr. Charles Mabaso there. Is Mr. Charles Mabaso here? Okay, it's already that side. Not a problem. And then all the members of USAR and UCC, they will go to room number 17. Room number 17, that's where they will get Mr. Mabaso in there. And therefore, the Lima, and then we do have HOC Chuleza, and then she will be in room number 18. They are in the same building, and then the doors are just close to each other. And then Lima will be going to number 18. And therefore, RDC, they will be going to Solvage. And then Solvage was here. I think she went out also. Yes, she went out. And, oh, yes, there you are. And then please, that is Solvage. The members who might not maybe know her, can you please stand up, ma'am, and then raise your hand so that they can see you. And then the members of RDC, and then they will be going to her. She will be in room number 22. She will be in room number 22. I can repeat them quickly. And then UNDAC, and then it will be Lavinia. Is Lavinia here? Also outside. Not a problem. She will be also in room number 16. And then USA and UCC, they will be in room number 17. And then Lima, it will be HOC Chuleza, and then in room number 18, and then RDC, and then it's Solvage in room number 22. And therefore, further than that, when we come back at 4 o'clock from that side, coming this side, and then we will be doing a presentation in terms of sharing with all the members that are here to say what is the purpose or what was actually the intent and then of this exercise, and then that we are participating in. And therefore, we will be sharing with yourself and then the details of that. And therefore, without any waste of time, Program Director, please let me hand everything over to yourself, unless if maybe there are questions over the breakaway rooms that I've just shared with the members here and the members. Is there anyone maybe who didn't hear it clearly? It looks like they understood, Program Director. Thank you very much. And then this one. Oh, must I talk about this?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. I think it's clearer for all of us. And what is great is that there will be a multi-sectoral team, well, there'll be multi-sectoral teams. So hence we'll be able to learn from each other. So it won't be like country A, they will be on their own. So we'll be able to share ideas and knowledge, which is a great approach, one believes.
Thank you.
Yes. On our program now, it will be the presentations from all 3 spheres of government, national, provincial, as well as local. At this point, we'll start with national response coordination arrangement. On the program, colleagues, there is Mr. Thabo Kupari, who is the Chief Director, Disaster Preparedness, Response, Recovery, Coordination. Colleagues, I know Mr. Kupari. I have not seen him yet. So let's please advise who will be presenting on behalf of the NDMC. Okay. Mr. Semepe, colleagues, will be presenting on behalf of the National Disaster Management Center. Thank you, sir. You're welcome.
Good morning, colleagues. Oh, the presentation is behind me. That's fine. I don't think I'll use this one. I think I'll just talk through the presentation. Good morning, colleagues. As said, my name is Sam Maepa from the National Disaster Management Center. I'll be doing the presentation on behalf of Mr. Kupari. Let me start by, they didn't give me a list of all the dignitaries. So I won't start greeting you one by one. I think it will suffice to say all protocol observed. Morning, colleagues. In front of you, colleagues, is a presentation which is going to deal with the National Disaster Management Center response and coordination processes. Because once a disaster happens, we have got processes that we do follow. The presentation outline is that, let's start with the purpose. The purpose of this presentation is to share with participants of the Africa, Europe, and Middle East Earthquake Response Exercise information on the National Disaster Management Coordination arrangements that are informed by the South African Disaster Management legislative provisions. The focus is more on procedures for classification, since we are here for dissemination and declaration of a disaster, with a bit of a touch on the disaster management funding arrangements in terms of the Disaster Management Act 57 of 2002 as amended. And in this presentation, the following items will be covered. I'll cover disaster management legislation framework, institutional arrangements for response coordination. We have 4 steps in the legislative value chain. We have got classification of a disaster, followed by the declaration of a state of a disaster, and the facts about classification, declaration of state of a disaster, and the exercise of public power, followed by funding arrangements underpinning disaster management, disaster grants within the National Disaster Management Center, and conditions for funding contributions. These are topics that will be covered. Ladies and gentlemen, our disaster management in South Africa has got a legislative framework. The Disaster Management Act, that is the act that coordinated disaster management policy, and it focuses on 5 pillars. First is prevention or reducing the risk of a disaster, because my belief is that prevention is better than cure. For a disaster to happen, we better start by preventing it before it happens. Then is mitigation, the severity of a disaster. Once you identify it, you prevented it, but it still happened, then you mitigate the severity of that disaster. And then you become immediately prepared. And then you have got rapid and effective response to disaster. And then after all has happened and a disaster has already happened, you couldn't prevent it, you mitigated it, and you did everything. Then you have got your post-disaster recovery and rehabilitation. That is what you do after a disaster has already happened. We do have subordinated legislation, which is a policy framework for disaster risk management in South Africa. The Act recognizes wide-ranging opportunities to promote the avoidance and reduction of disaster losses through concerted energies and efforts of all spheres of government, civil society, and the private sector. As the previous speakers indicated, disasters are multifaceted and you cannot fight them alone. So we need to have a concerted effort to deal with the effects of a disaster. It also acknowledges the crucial need for uniformity in the approach taken by such a diversity of role players and partners. Whenever you are fighting a disaster, you cannot fight it separated. You need to come to converge together and have a concerted effort fighting towards that particular disaster. And the National Disaster Management Framework of 2005 is the legal instrument specified by the Act to address such needs for consistency across multiple interest groups by providing a coherent, transparent, and inclusive policy on disaster management appropriate for the Republic as a whole. The chair indicated that we have got 9 provinces. However, we are all governed by one act. So the country as a whole is governed by one act. We have got institutional arrangements for response coordination. Relevant structures are activated in all 9 provinces through the coordination of provincial disaster management centers, which is the PDMC in short, for activation of provincial contingency and response plans, as well as coordination of reports by organs of state and relevant stakeholders. In the country, we have got the national government. We have the country is divided into 9 provinces, and provinces are then further divided into municipalities. So provinces are headed by what we call the Provincial Disaster Management Center. So should an incident happen, then the Provincial Disaster Management Centers, then they activate the contingency arrangements so that that particular disaster in that province can be addressed. The National Disaster Management coordinates the National Joint Flood Coordination Committee. This is a committee formed from all sector departments in all provinces. We all come together and we all coordinate that particular type of a disaster. And the National Joint Drought Coordination Committee, whether is the disaster is flood related, then we call it a flood disaster, or the disaster is drought related. We've got 2 committees that addresses the two disasters. Or any other special forum that constitute all relevant organs of state for preparedness, arrangements, and intervention measures regarding drought, flood, and any other type of disaster within the country. We only don't come together when a disaster has already happened. We also come together to prepare. We come together for preparedness because we have got our awareness mechanisms. Our weather services tell us we have got a focused weather services, and should a danger be anticipated, then we come together and we prepare for that, for such a particular disaster that may happen. The NDMC coordinates National Disaster Management Advisory Forum that advises on interventions to be taken. In that togetherness of us, when we come together, either physical or online, we come out with strategy on how to mitigate any danger that might come. The Intergovernmental Committee on Disaster Management, which is in short called the ICDM, led by the Minister of COCTA, continues to provide executive leadership in the implementation of the contingency plan and responding to disasters. Higher than the committee that I'm talking about, we have got a committee of ministers, Intergovernmental Disaster Management Forum, that where ministers come together and they discuss how to deal with such disaster and how to manage them. And where there is a need, we also do have a NAT joint, which facilitates the activation of relevant provincial and local security cluster structures as and when necessary to provide defined support to the disaster management structure as per section 15(2)(a) of the Disaster Management Act. You see, all these committees that I spoke about, they all come together at different times to address the same issue. As I said before, a disaster is not something that you can fight as an individual. We come together as local, as provincial, and as national governments, including our ministers, to thoroughly deal with the disaster. There are 4 steps in the legislative value chain in our country. Step number 1, whenever a disaster is promising or is threatening to happen, we evaluate the nature of the occurrence and determine if the Disaster Management Act apply, which is section 2(1)(b). Section 2(1)(b) says that a disaster belongs to the department that owns it. And it is not automatic that the national disaster is going to be involved in managing the disaster. We are only involved in the management of the disaster if the severity and the magnitude of such type of a disaster exceeds the local people to deal with such a disaster. Step number 2, we declare a state of a disaster to enable the implementation of measures to augment contingencies where needs, using regulations and or directives where existing legislation and contingencies are inadequate. If a disaster happens and a local sphere of government can deal thoroughly with that disaster, there's no need to take further steps. But if the local sphere of government or the provincial sphere of government, that disaster, the magnitude and the severity of the disaster is unable to deal with the disaster, then that disaster is eventually going to be classified and declared, so that extra assistance can come in and a coordinated effort can be taken to assist in that disaster. Once a disaster happens and it is beyond the capacity or the capability of the local sphere or the sector departments that deals with that, and they need assistance, that disaster is going to be classified. We classify a disaster why do we classify a disaster? The reason is the recognition that a disaster occurrence has occurred. The government recognized that an incident has occurred and the severity of that incident is beyond the capability of the sphere of government to handle it, then we declare it. Number 2, it assigns to a sphere with primary responsibility to coordinate and manage the response. It assigns powers to that sphere of government where a disaster has occurred, then to coordinate and look for resources to address that response. And it allows us to start the implementation of contingency arrangements and emergency procedures. And lastly, it enables other organs of state to support the sphere having primary responsibility. For an example, if a disaster happens, let me give an example of floods. If a disaster happens and floods wipe away the roads, the bridges, and the infrastructure, the Department of Public Works and Roads and Transport is the most affected sector department that deals with that infrastructure. If the severity is much higher than the capability of the Department of, when we classify, then we allow other sector departments to come in and assist the Department of Public Works in managing that type of a disaster. Step number 2, conduct an initial on-site assessment to establish the magnitude and severity and determine if the occurrence falls within the definition of a disaster and should be regarded as a disaster. Remember, there is a difference between an occurrence and a disaster. An occurrence is not declared, and an occurrence is not classified. We only classify a disaster that is beyond occurrence. How do we determine that it's beyond the occurrence? It's because it is beyond the financial capability and the manpower capability of the sphere of government where the disaster has happened to deal with that disaster using their own resources. If then they deplete all their resources and they can no more handle that type of a disaster, then we need extra resources to come in and assist. Classification of a disaster. Initially, we conduct an initial assessment to, among other things, establish whether the disastrous event should be regarded as a disaster and the basis for which sphere of government should be assigned a primary responsibility to coordinate and manage the disaster through classification in terms of Section 23, read with 35 disasters within a province and 49 disasters within a municipality. We have got different sections in the Act that deals with classification either at a local, provincial, or national. The purpose to classify a disaster is as either a local or a provincial national disaster is to formally determine that a disaster exists. Once we determine through verification and assessment, because such a disaster needs to be verified and assessed. Once the disaster has been determined, formally determined, then we classify it as a disaster. The second point is to assign primary responsibility to a particular sphere of government for the coordination and management of such a disaster, to ensure that a sphere of government is accountable for the disaster. If it is agriculture-related disaster, then the sphere of government, which is agriculture, is going to be accountable for such a disaster. And to enable, as I mentioned before, other state of government to assist the sphere that is having the primary responsibility to deal with the disaster or its consequences. As I said before, we need to classify, we need to assess and verify a disaster. But then who has got the power to classify a disaster? Because not everybody can say this is a disaster and then it needs classification. The Act gives that power to only one position in the country. It is the head of the National Disaster Management Center. That is the only person who has got the power to classify a disaster. Whether the disaster is a local disaster, is a provincial disaster, or is a national disaster. As I said before, we have got 3 spheres of government. So whether the disaster happens locally, provincially, or nationally, all those classifications has to be rectified by the head of the National Disaster Management Center. By so doing, he will have assessed the magnitude and severity of the potential magnitude and severity of the disaster and classify the disaster as a local, provincial, or national. Now, after a disaster has been classified, and we spoke about the reasons why a disaster should be classified, then there might be a need for a disaster to be declared. Not all disasters require declaration. It has got to be a disaster of a certain magnitude or of a certain level for it to be declared. Because declaration and classification have got 2 separate purposes. They don't mean the same thing. So, as I said before, only one person or one position in the country can classify a disaster. But that is not the same with when you classify, when you declare a disaster. A disaster can be declared as a local disaster, it can be declared as a provincial disaster, and it can also be declared as a national disaster. But then it needs different entities or different people. And for a reason why a disaster is declared at a local level is because it affects a single municipality, metro, and the municipality concerned with the assistance of the district or local municipality is able to deal with the impact. When a disaster is declared a local disaster, it means that that disaster affects a single district or a single municipality. And that district or that municipality can, on its own, using its own resources, can deal with that disaster. Then it is regarded as a local disaster. But if it fails to deal with that disaster using their own resources, then the level of that disaster is escalated to a provincial level. Then that disaster is then going to be declared as a provincial disaster because the severity and the magnitude of that disaster exceed the capability of the local to deal with the type of a disaster. So it is then promoted, we promote the disaster to a provincial level. So should the province, as I said, we have got 9 provinces, should one province be affected, more than one province, KZN, Eastern Cape, Northwest, as it normally happens, we have got disasters everywhere where you find that 3 or more provinces are affected by a particular disaster. And those 3 provinces are unable to deal with the magnitude and the severity of that disaster, then that disaster is elevated to a national level. And then it is now called a national disaster because of its magnitude and the number of the affected provinces. Right. Now, since I said classification of a disaster is only done by the head of the National Disaster Management Center, then who is responsible for declaration of a disaster? Right. At a local level, the local council in the municipality is capable of declaring a disaster. At a provincial level, the premier of the province is responsible to declare that that disaster in that province is a provincial disaster. And should everything fail, then it goes to the minister of COCTA, the department. Then he's going to declare a national state of a disaster, where more than 1 or 2 provinces are then affected. Then it needs all the country's requirements, like what you have done. You have brought all the province requirements, resources outside for us to see. Those resources are able to, if they fail, no matter how strong they are, there are levels of disaster where all those stuff outside is going to fail, and they're going to ask assistance from national. This is further to deal with, sorry. This is just further to deal with the declaration of a disaster in terms of a local, a national, and a provincial state of a disaster. Thanks, boss. We have got a few facts that need to be taken into consideration when one is classifying or declaring a disaster. The classification of a disaster and the declaration of such a disaster does not take away the legislative mandate responsibilities from any of the responsible organs of state in the sphere of government. As I said, if a disaster happened at a local level and the local sphere of government is unable to deal with that type of a disaster, and it is then escalated to a provincial level, it doesn't mean that the provincial sphere of government is exonerated from dealing with that level of a disaster. They are still the primary responders, and they are still responsible for that particular disaster. However, they might have gotten assistance both from provincial and national. However, they are still the primary responsibility. The absence of a classification does not prohibit the implementation of contingency arrangements or emergency procedures by affected organs of state across the spheres of government. It doesn't mean that if a disaster is not classified, the sphere of government that is responsible for that disaster is exonerated. The sphere of government should always remember a disaster is the owner of the disaster is the sphere of government or the organ of state where the disaster is happening. So at no stage, be it escalated to provincial or national, at no stage are you going to fold your hands and say, I'm done, because I've called Dr. Stolle and his team is coming and now ours is done. You remain the owner of that disaster until it is done. And classification or declaration, both of them, does not guarantee the approval and allocation of funding by the national government. If an incident is classified as a disaster, That is not to say then you are now capable of receiving funds from national government. It doesn't mean that. You are capable of receiving assistance in any other manner, including funds, but not solely funds. This is a fact that must be understood, because most of the people, once a disaster is classified or is declared, then they have a sigh of relief. Someone has taken care of the disaster that happened. It doesn't mean that. It still means that you own that disaster. You might classify, but classification or declaration doesn't mean that you must now wait for national government and say, when am I receiving the funds? Look, I'm talking too much now, and this computer closes down. Right. A declaration enables the implementation of measures to augment contingencies where needed using regulations and or directives where existing regulations and contingency are inadequate. Now we need to get the difference between classification and declaration. Most people think that if a disaster happened, they will phone the National Disaster Management Center and said, we asked for a declaration, and then what is happening? Because in their own mind, they think, because classification comes first, they are rushing for the next level where a declaration should come. When are you declaring? Why? Because we want to apply for funding. That is not the purpose. The two things have got different meaning altogether. You can request funding only with classification. It does not mean that a disaster needs to be declared for you to request funding. Declaration has got legislative impact, while classification have got your normal assistance and your funding. Classification includes funding requests as well. Your declaration, if I can give a practical example, during COVID, because COVID was declared a national disaster, the minister could change legislation. The minister could say all taverns are going to be closed by 1 o'clock midday. Then that is legislation, because it impacts your social life. The minister could say everybody is going to stop smoking because I'm going to stop selling cigarettes, because they've got a negative impact on your life and exacerbate the impact of COVID. That is the reason why a disaster is declared. But for a disaster to be funded, only classification gives you the liberty to do that. So it is not necessary, and it is not always the case, that all disasters need to be declared. It's not always the case. Some disasters are fit to be declared if they need legislative impact, but classification is normally good for everybody. But then, before one could classify or declare, there are certain considerations that need to be taken into impact. When exercising these public powers, because these are public powers, in terms of the Disaster Management Act, according to the promotion of administrative of justice. Remember during COVID, there were people who normally will then challenge the minister for decisions that she could have taken on the benefit of the public. If she says taverns must be closed, the tavern owners are now striking. They want to do everything because they want their alcohol to be sold. If she says cigarette must not be sold, then the cigarette manufacturers took the minister to court on several occasions, saying that her decision was not good. That is why it is very important. that when you decide to declare or to classify, you take into consideration the administrative action that must be lawful. Because if it is not lawful, you are going to lose the challenge in court. That action of yours that you take in declaring or classifying must be rational and reasonable, so that it addresses all these issues. And that administrative action must be procedural and fair. These are the three legs that they are going to consider in court. If they consider any complaint that is brought by someone else, so that was your decision lawful, was your decision rational and reasonable, or was your decision practically fair? These elements are key to understand, and the authority to classify a disaster and declare a state of disaster. And these are the pitfalls that must always be avoided. Whenever a disaster has happened, as I said before, the reason for classification and declaration is not for funding. But should there be a need that funding should be done, then it has got its own arrangements as well. Because in terms of any classification or any declaration, at the end of the day, you find that the sphere of government or the province or the local municipality is not able to deal with the severity of that disaster. They need intervention, financial intervention from the National Disaster Management Center. And such arrangements are underpinned by certain cornerstones. The cornerstone of the Disaster Management Act is on a disaster risk reduction through the following actions. Before you can respond, you must prevent. And when you prevent, you identify your risk and you reduce it. I'm going to increase my speed because I'm shown time. I wanted to be slow so that you can understand. But anybody who didn't understand from here onwards can meet me outside because I'm accelerating. Anticipation of future disaster risk, reduction of existing and impending exposure, hazard and vulnerability, and improvement of resilience. These are the disaster risks that one should take into consideration because you have already identified your disaster. The Disaster Management Act entrenches and mainstream disaster risk reduction through disaster management planning by the organs of state as prescribed in Section 25 to 53 of the Disaster Management Act. Because this, I anticipate that this presentation is going to be shared. Colleagues will read for themselves. The funding arrangements, arrangement that enable the availing of resources to emergency and effects of a disaster and emergencies is existing legislation and contingency arrangements, reprioritization and reallocation of funding and resources from existing organs of programs, grants within the organs of state, risk transfer, which is your insurance. Very few municipalities have got insurances. Municipal Finance Management Acts, and the legislation and arrangement that enables the availing of resources to address the effects of the disaster and emergencies. These are the legislative arrangements and their sections that you can read through. Most importantly is the grants within the National Disaster Management Center. We have got two types of grants. We have got the funding grant for emergency response. Once a disaster happens, within 6 months, we fund the disaster so that emergency things can be repaired. The second type of a grant, we have got reconstruction and rehabilitation, normally called the UNU or the recovery grant. That is long term, mostly for bridges, for houses, because now you call other non-affected sector departments, If it is houses, you call the Department of Housing. Those are long-term and they will take a long to implement. And there are conditions under which you are supposed to receive grants. You need to have met certain conditions. Condition number 1, whether any prevention or mitigation measures were taken. As I said, prevention is better than cure. When we come and do assessment, we need to find out, did you have prevention measures in order to prevent the magnitude and the severity of such a disaster to happen? Whether the disaster could have been avoided or minimized had preventative measures been taken into consideration. Whether it is reasonable to expect that prevention and mitigation measures should have been taken in the circumstances. In an incident where you are going to have a tornado, it's normally not possible to have prevention measures. And the extent of financial assistance available from community, public, or other non-governmental support or government programs, and the magnitude and severity of a disaster, the financial capacity of the victims and the disaster, and their accessibility to commercial insurance. If a disaster can hit the whole Nelson Mandela, the first people that we are going to assist mostly is the people living in your normal settlement areas, because their level of financial resources is very limited. Normally in your towns, your houses are insured, and that's where you go for assistance. Ladies and gentlemen, in short, I was forced to accelerate. Thank you. I was fired from the stage.
Mr. Maeb, I'm sorry, you're not anymore. I apologize, sir. Okay, thank you. Just a note, please, to the presenters. We'll be using this click to press the next slide. There is an announcement and a request. A colleague, Mr. Sibake, has misplaced his phone. Say Hawaii. I know most of our phones are the same, so if you happen to please see the phone, it's not an early Christmas gift, please return it to him. So he needs the phone, the information is crucial. Thank you. As South Africa, we can confirm that we do not have the disaster management center, National Disaster Management Center only, but we have the Functional Disaster Management Center, which we are grateful for. And the National Disaster Management Center affords the municipalities as well as the possibilities an opportunity to give feedback. Sometimes when there is a need, there is consultation. Like currently, South Africa is in a process of overhauling the disaster management as a whole. So there have been various consultations sessions. The last one we attended was on Thursday, the 27th of November. So we are grateful. So we are working towards having the standardized and ideal disaster management centers in the country. On that note, I'd like to call the Provincial Disaster Management Center. The presentation will be delivered by Ms. Puseleto Kolanjo. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you. Covered, ma'am. Thank you.
I think it's afternoon now. Yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon to the leadership and our international guests, and also other colleagues from other provinces. I'm Ms. Jama, not Ms. Jama. I'm kidding, colleagues. I am Pusele Tsokolanchu, standing in on behalf of Ms. Jama, my boss. So if I make a mistake, please blame her for everything. Okay, I think my presentation is going to touch on the provincial disaster coordination, but before then, I'll touch on the overview of the province, where we are located, the demographics. I think that will be a valuable information as you will be embarking on this exercise, the risk profile, and I'll just not talk of the entire risk profile for the province, but I'll just focus on the major risks, and then the recent major disasters or incidents that we had, and also the legislative framework, our role, detailing our role as the PDMC, and as well as the provincial response coordination arrangements. On the overview is that we are bordered in the south and east by the Indian Ocean. As you can see, we are stretched, extending over a distance of 800 kilometers. So this exercise is very important to us. And we are also next to busy international shipping routes. And we also have a history of shipping disasters, especially in the eastern coastline, the Tata side, which is the Wild Coast. Apart from that, is that we also seen the marine and coastal environmental threats that are pursuant in the province, which is a serious risk and also remain a concern roads, bridges, as well as agricultural infrastructure was affected. And then December 21, and then whilst we are dealing with the December, and then the rains came again in January 2022, and then unfortunately we lost 27 lives, and also 27 were injured by a collapsing wall. They were in one place. It was a church, and then unfortunately 7 people lost their lives, and then that occurred in OR Tambo, and in that as well, housing and roads infrastructure was severely affected. And again in April 2022, when the serious floods hit KZN, our neighboring province, we were also affected the same way. As you can see, it left over 4,000 homeless. 55 villages were without water. As you heard in Dadesem presenting, we had to request emergency funding so that they can be connected to water. And then the damages, I think, for then were over 1 billion. Some are still undergoing repairs. And then in June 2024, we also have flooding which affected, which left 7,335 households homeless in the province. And then we had 13 fatalities, and then 572 displaced here within the metro. And then unfortunately, June this year, we lost 103 people in the OR Tambo district. It was bad for the province. There were over 4,000 people without homes, and some are still in halls even now. They are still being built temporary shelters. And then we had housing, bridges, schools that were damaged. The damages were over 4.5 billion. So I took some of the pictures just to show you the damages. The first picture, there is a bridge here in Kwanobuhle. It's one of the settlement here in the metro. So this was in June 2024, during that floods. And then the picture below is for the June 2025, when we lost 103 people in KSD. As you can see on the left, that was before the incident. And then the picture on the right is after the floods that washed away the settlement and unfortunately took away even some of the people. We still have one teenager missing, which was not found. I will just touch a bit on the legislative framework in terms of our role as the PDMC. I won't dwell much because Ndate Sam talked in details. So as our responsibility as the Provincial Disaster Management Center, if there's an imminent disastrous event about to occur, we need to immediately initiate efforts to assess the magnitude and severity, and then we inform the NDMC and of the initial magnitude and severity through the reports. And in the report we do send it with recommendations if there are any, if we maybe say we require classification, as you heard from Dadesem, and then we immediately alert role players within the province, and then we initiate implementation of our contingency plan. So before anything, whilst whilst there's nothing, we work tirelessly as the province to make sure that we conduct our risk assessment, and we don't just conduct it, we develop risk reduction plans, we develop contingency plans, which we are enforcing that they should be funded. And these plans should also be allocated with personnel and resources. I think for a long time we struggled to have funding for these plans. So in alignment with the above, we, as I've indicated, we do develop contingency plans, and we have established multi-sectoral provincial teams, which is led by Mr. Alexandra there, which is made up of those first responders, as you can see. And then on the warning, we don't even wait for an incident to occur. Once we receive a warning, we meet up and plan already so that we try to minimize the impact by letting whoever is exposed maybe to evacuate on time, and as well as the stakeholders to be ready to respond. And another issue is that we have worked with stakeholders to develop SOPs, as I've indicated, response protocols, field operating standard, and MOUs. We have signed MOUs with South African National Space Agency, and they have assisted the province to map all the floods risk areas for the province, and we use that information everywhere we go. We just like my HOC said, we preach. Every platform we get, we preach about this risk profile that we are talking about here. We tell them, even if it's just another meeting, we start by saying, here is your profile in this area. So you are exposed to this risk, and this is, you are not even supposed to settle here, because we're trying to make sure that they are aware. So we enter into MOUs. We have entered into MOUs. There are colleagues here from ALIMDAT that we work with. It's an NGO and other NGOs as well. We have service level agreements with some of them that we are entering into MOUs with. And then this is the USAR team from the province. Is made up of these stakeholders, Department of Health, from EMS, because they do have rescue, and then from South African Police Services, K9 Search and Rescue Unit, and Aviation, and then, as I've indicated, those ALIMDAT, Gift of the Giver, South African Red Cross, and we also, as the PDMC, we have also trained 5 pilots within the PDMC. We have procured 2 commercial drones that we use for our risk assessment as well as planning, and they are also used during response. We also have a rescue SA as part of the USAR team, fire and rescue services within the 2 metros and the 6 districts, as well as the SANDF. So this is some of those pictures of the team. This is some of the pictures that were taken when they were responding to the Mthatha incident in June, as they were searching for the bodies that were swept away by the floods. So in closing, we just want to emphasize our commitment into fostering multi-sectoral collaboration and strategic partnerships. We have realized over the years that we cannot do this by ourselves. We are very thin within the PDMC, and we have been thriving through partnerships. We have research institutions that we work with, and also partnerships that are here. So we have seen that working together and sharing of information, it really strengthen our collaboration as a team. So that's it from me. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Acting Ms. Chama. We appreciate the presentation. Yes, indeed, as the province, we can confirm that we are the disaster vulnerable province, but we're doing the best we can with our limited resources. Just to highlight, colleagues, of having the MOAs or the MOUs in place, because if you have those ad hoc arrangements, when you need the services the most, you do not receive. So it's important to formalize relationship. As the Eastern Cape, through Ms. Chama, we can probably say that please come to the Eastern Cape for benchmarking. We have Alfred Nzo District Municipality. They have a memorandum of understanding with various institutions, and it's working well. We're also learning, and we're encouraging all the municipalities throughout the country to take note. On that note, we'd like to call local municipal fire services, Mr. Nelson Whiteboy, to do the presentation on behalf of the municipality. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon to all our esteemed guests from national, provincial, and international, and especially to our locals who normally protects our very friendly city which we love a lot. I'm going to do a small presentation. I'm not going to follow the whole presentation. A lot of these items were covered by the previous speaker, especially the legislation. There we go. My main aim is to highlight the purpose, the combating of emergency incidents, the promotion of fire safety awarenesses within our communities. Nelson Mandela Metro is facing increasing disasters, which the previous speakers also alerted to, including flooding, drought, fires, hazardous material incidents, informal settlements, and coastal erosion. The purpose of the presentation is to outline the Metro's current disaster, fire services capabilities, key gap and challenges, the recommendations to enhance resilience. Legislative framework was covered by the previous speakers, which is exactly the same. My apologies for that, I'm not used to doing. Myself and Japi is from the old school. We use the books. My apologies, it's not an excuse. We need to know technology nowadays. If you're going to go the INSARAG way, you have to know technology, so we need to educate ourselves. My apologies for being ignorant about technology. Okay, these are the various legislation that covers and give us the mandate to perform our duties, which was discussed in depth by the national speaker. So I'm not going to go through that. Key disaster risks in Nelson Mandela Bay is flooding. We had quite a few floods in the last couple of years, which was devastating to our communities and our infrastructure. Drought, as was mentioned also by our previous speakers, storm surges, coastal erosion, A lot of them are caused by human risk, informal settlement fires, industrial chemical incidents, transportation incidents on major routes, which is becoming even more prevalent nowadays because our rail system is not completely functional, so we have a lot of these big 42-ton trucks and see now even 64-ton trucks which conveys ore from the inland to our harbor area. So and these guys are traveling all day, all night without rest. And obviously when you're tired, you're prone to make accident. And it happens quite a lot, especially in our Olifantskop Pass, which is actually a notorious pass, not that dangerous. I travel it a lot. I actually enjoy traveling through it. But for the guys that is tired in the trucks, we get frequent accidents. Mr. Dodi from EMS will most probably be the best to know that it's like almost every second day. And that's one of our major risks when it concerns those big trucks. I'm still there. Okay, the Disaster Management Center, it's a multi-agency coordination function involving fire and emergency services, traffic services, and Metro Police, South African Police Services, EMS, human settlements, water and sanitation infrastructure teams, NGOs, and volunteer groups. Over the years in the Metro, we have what we call it, or used to be, or it is still, the East Cape Coordinating Committee. We find that it is actually a very progressive committee where all the stakeholders meet within the Metro on a monthly basis and interact about certain incidents. We did also do debriefings from that committee, and then if there's issues, especially with certain service providers on scenes or in the Metro, like we had in the past, a lot of issues with breakdown service, we will invite them to the meeting, and then we will sort out those issues. We've also now re-established the Disaster Advisory Committee under Disaster, and then also the Fire Services Advisory Forum under the Fire Services. So we will also now be in a position where we will progressively be able to work closer as emergency services within the Metro, and then also we will develop our MOUs and all those things. Mr. Pillay is laughing here because he's been trying to do the MOUs, and he's forcing us from Airports Company, but there is a MOU because we work together. He's part of the committee. So, in essence, to be able to be effective when it comes to emergency services and rescue services, especially in our communities, we need to talk to each other and learn from each other. That's what we've learned from those committees. The core function of disaster management, it's a recovery and rehabilitation planning, risk assessment and early warning systems, preparedness and planning, public education, community awareness, relief, distribution, and shelter management. Fire services overview, mandate is to fire suppression, rescue operations, structural water, motor vehicle, high angle, hazardous material response, public fire safety education, building inspections and compliance, The response is normally from a centralized control room to the following fire stations, which is located within the metro. The building on the left is actually our headquarters, which is south end. I know most of the colleagues visited there already and they know about it. On the second floor, our local disaster management offices are hosted. These are the 9 fire stations within the metro in various of these areas. Current capabilities, operational strengths, we have skilled firefighters trained in national standards, multi-hazard response capability, community fire safety education programs, collaboration with Gqeberha and Transnet fire units, our technology and systems, computer-aided dispatch systems, GIS-based risk mapping, early warning via the NDMC and South African Weather Services. Community-based disaster response, school outreach, and fire safety awareness programs, collaboration with NGOs for relief, Red Cross, Give to the Givers, faith-based groups, informal settlement fire risk reduction activities. Okay, our challenges, that is normally where people would want to know, and I know during this time, we were engaging a lot of our international teams, and I think it's time that we in this country also need to look at undergoing partnerships where we can assist each other in learning and training and those type of things. And I hope that's one of the goals we can achieve after this. And I can see our colleague from UNIVA is nodding, so we've got a positive reaction there. On a lighter note, I'm not committing him. Okay, challenges is underfunding for proactive risk reduction, limited staff capacity at Disaster Management Center, the climate change, pressures increasing incidents. Challenges for the fire services, old fire engines and equipment needing replacement, sufficient staff to population ratio, high fire load in informal settlements, urban sprawl, increasing response distances. Okay. Opportunities for improvement. This increased investment in modern fire engines, rapid response vehicles, expand early warning systems for flood and stormwater, strengthen community resilience programs, and improve interdepartmental coordination during emergencies, develop a climate adaptation strategy for high-risk areas, enhance training and staff development. Strategic priorities for Nelson Mandela Bay from 25 to 2030. In the short term is fix critical equipment, enhance communication systems, to upgrade risk assessments, increase fire safety campaigns. Medium term plans is to build and upgrade fire stations, expand certified training, improve flood drainage infrastructure, and modernize fleet and advanced technology, advanced equipment. Full climate resilience strategy. In conclusion, Nelson Mandela has always been a strong foundation for disaster and fire response. We have it still in our blood. and we're committed to respond. And I know all our colleagues, otherwise, especially from the international community, wouldn't be here if it wasn't in their blood. In my 43 years of service, it's always been in my blood, in this fire service. Thank you, colleagues.
Colleagues, it's safe to say I concur with everything that Mr. Whiteboy said, because we're from the metro, but we are trying to do our best to improve as a center, because we can never stop learning in disaster management. At this point, colleagues, we're supposed to have presentation on key components. The team has advised that those two presentations, virtual operations coordination, as well as ICMS lead, it will be discussed later on in the academic session. Which now takes us to the next item, which is lunch break. Ms. Jackson, please confirm if we're ready. And then while Ms. Jackson is confirming, we like then Mr. Chapi, please to guide us, after lunch, do we come back to the venue or we go to our respective breakaway sessions? Mr. Chapi, we need a confirmation, please, that's after lunch, do we converge here or we go to our respective breakaway rooms straight? Please come forward, sir, for the benefit of all of us. 2 minutes? Oh, okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much, Program Director. Colleagues, what we are going to announce now is, I'm told that the lunch is ready. Now it means that we can start with lunch, and then after lunch we can converge here, and then before we go to the different breakaway rooms. And then that's what maybe I just want to come in for Program Director.
Okay, that's in order. I think we all agree in this approach. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
It's clear. So colleagues, now let's break for lunch, and yeah, we'll come back. Thank you.
Two, 3, 4. Okay? You. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. No. 4. You 4, ne? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Then, yes, you read. You've been numbered. Go. Okay, 1, next to is 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip you guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then again, next year is 1, 2. We've done, you guys, ne? No. So 3, 4. Above you, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. At the back, 4, and then 1. So all the 1s is one group. All the 2s is the second group, third and fourth. So group 1, you will do UNDAC first. Your second session will be Lima. Third session will be RDC. Fourth session will be USAR. Okay? Group 2. Your first session will be Lima. Your second session will be RDC. Third session USAR. And then your fourth session UNDAC. Group 3, you will start with RDC, followed by USAR, UNDAC, and then Lima. The fourth group starts with USAR, UNDAC, Lima, RDC. Like Teresa said, all the breakaway rooms is that side of the building. Your sessions will be 10 minutes long, each session. 10 minutes to presentation and 10 minutes for discussion. Any questions on that? Hands up? Yes, down here. Question? Group 4. Okay.
We'll sort it out now.
You want to hold on?
Okay, so in the first row, who is number 1? So this is, please follow the colonel. She's going to lead the group 1. Group number 2, you must be number 2. Don't stress about it. Don't worry about it. 3, who's number 2? Lebo? Number 3. Marlu. And then for number 4. So, daai kant toe.
start. Good afternoon, colleagues. Uh-oh. Stay high. You can start. Say right, okay. Good afternoon once again, colleagues. Let us settle down, please. Oh, it works better. Okay, perfect. Right. Good afternoon once again, colleagues. Thank you. Let's settle down, please. Yes. Colleagues, just a word of appreciation for still being here after it's been a long day. So after attending these 4 sessions, we can safely say that our understanding is better. So thanks to all the presenters. We are better informed now. I can safely say that most of the abbreviations we are now familiar with and we understand them, but it will surely take time. We'll keep on practicing and then we'll surely be incorporating them on our disaster management documents so that we can be in line with the national as well as the international standards. So colleagues, now there's going to be a short presentation by Mr. Japi and then on the way forward. From my side, I would like to say thank you very much for the opportunity. One has learned a lot to be the program director. I appreciate the trust trusted in me, even though it was overwhelming in the beginning, but towards the end, I got used to it. So thank you for the cooperation. I really, so I'm formally resigning till we meet again. Thank you.
Or maybe I can just ask the members to show it for us. The presentation, please.
Is the one that is here, is this one? Just this one? No, let me just check which one here. X1 for the first. Let me just check. No, let me just do this. Okay, let me just do this quickly. I'll open it for you quickly. I won't even make it long. Let me just check quickly and then understand the terms quickly. Hey, come on. This thing is offline actually. Let me just do this quickly. If you can say it again. Of that presentation. I've got it here. Yes, that would be great.
Okay. I'll allow him to put it on a stick quickly, and then I can just do this quickly. Yeah, let me just do this quickly. Yes, and then let's do that. Yes, and then let's connect. It's fine. It's connected now. And then let me just check quickly. I did say send, and then it will say Alf. Is there Alf here? No, not yet.
Oh, it was sent by there is
Alf. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did send it to Alf. Is this one? Is this one? What is your email?
Overview. Okay, it's Leander.
Forward it to yourself. Can send it then when you're done.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Just give me.
Yes, no problem. Good afternoon, colleagues. I think now we have done it all for today. And then I'm just standing here because I'm on the program. Now, what I'm going to do, and again, just to remind you, and then the information that we have, it will be circulated to yourselves. But this is what actually we just wanted to go through. Actually, to talk about the exercise, my name is Gqeberha, and then as I've said, but then I find that to introduce myself is the same because I've seen that the whole house knows me. Now, in short, I'm just reminding you again, but I'm not gonna waste a lot of time on these things, and then I'll just do it quickly, and then because we wanted to say after this, let me say it now, after this one, we are having a special gala dinner for yourselves. Now, one of the things that we have to do is to give yourself and then some time just to go and freshen up, and then so that you can go to the address that I'll be giving you. I know you don't know where it is, but I'll give you the address and then so that you go after this exercise. Colleagues, the purpose of this exercise to all of you, I know that you know that it's what is relevant with what you are specializing on, but in short is to strengthen the intergovernmental coordination and response to high important and low frequency, impact and low frequency and natural disasters. That is point number one. Number two, to evaluate existing disaster management plans within all spheres of government. Colleagues, you all know that you do have your plans, all of you, starting from the metro and then all the way up to national. But what we wanted also to see is we want to evaluate them to see that can they talk to one another, especially in a situation like this. Can you speak the same language in terms of doing the same thing with the same understanding at all times? The other one is to test the readiness and then of agency services, humanitarian agencies, private sector partners, and even volunteers. And then by so saying, we are saying that in our industry, a disaster cannot be actually the state-owned maybe departments and then our partners. We also need the private sector or the NGOs and then to work together with them. Now the purpose is to test that readiness and then of emergency services. The other one is to enhance resilience, community preparedness and early warning and then dissemination capability. When you talk about that, we know that when things like that comes, and then it means that there must be exercises that are conducted to inform our people, and then in terms of either to evacuate or to move from one place and then to another. This is the slide that had to do with the exercise, and then I had to remove it because of the request. Now the strategic intent and then of this exercise and then is to validate contingency plan and then for earthquake and tsunami risk and then within Nelson Mandela Metro. And then the next one is to assess the standard operating procedures, the SOPs, to immediate response and then and rescue, medical triage, and even the evacuations. And I think we do have our EMRTs and then within our midst, and then definitely they know what we are talking about. Thank you very much. I wanted to be sure. Thank you very much. And then the other one is to improve the
operability, and then between the municipal, the provincial structures, SAPS, SNDF, EMS, and then the fire rescues, and then within the area, like in the province here. Now, I can tell you that with what we have done, it shows that actually you can work together, and therefore you can deliver, and then what is expected, and then as a collaborated team. Now, that is why we are saying that those were the things that we definitely we wanted to achieve. And then the other one is to the maritime and aviation stakeholders. They are also here within us. And then we need to be proud of that. Can you please raise your hand, ma'am? This is the example of what we are talking about. And then others, yes, others are here. Definitely, they are here. And then even next to you, ma'am, we're having the harbor master there next to you. It means that all the agencies are in the house, in one house, and then to deal with one thing. Now, that is why I'm saying that, colleagues, all of us, we need to appreciate and tap our shoulders to say that if we can all work together, definitely our country will be safe at all times. And then I think on this one, the last one is the social services, the NGOs and the private sector partners. We know that, as I said, that our partners is not only the state-owned departments, it is also with our NGOs and the private sectors. And then the key objectives are as follows, and then to evaluate activation of disaster management structures at all three spheres of government. And then that is what we are also focusing on, to test the communication flow between the response agencies and emergency operations and then centers. And then the other one, to assess the decision-making processes under the complex and then cascading disaster conditions, and then to test the community evacuation procedures, and then for coastal high-risk zone. Colleagues, when coming to the issues of evacuating the community, sometimes it might be easy when you read on it on the books, but when you have to deal with it practically, it is not easy. Most of you knows that it is not an easy thing to evacuate the people. People will tell you that, no, I would rather die here. Now, what we are saying is to get to that, convince our people, for them to accept that they have to move to the safe area to leave their properties or their assets. It's sometimes not an easy thing. We all know that practically. But I think as we are together as partners in the house, it will be easy, because we know that the law enforcement agency will also be there, and then the resistance won't be that high. And then we know that when we get to other issues, we pull somebody that must be in front, and then definitely leads the team on that area. Now, what we are saying is, this is the objectives definitely that we wanted to deal with. And then to enhance and then coordination with humanitarian support and then organizations for sheltering, relief, and family reunification. Because we know that after what we are doing, which is the evacuations and whatever, and then we host people on the temporary shelters and all those things. Then thereafter, it means that we have to locate the family members and then reunite the families and then let the life begins again. And then so that life can be normal, back to normal again. And also to assess integration of scientific institutions. And then you can talk about CSIR, Council of Geoscience, and then South African Weather Bureau, and then into the early warning and data interpretation. And then, colleagues, those are the things that we can talk about. Now, the outcome of this exercise that we are doing here is a collaborated sort of a team, in short, to put it like that. And therefore, it is to improve the response on the disaster. Colleagues, that is the biggest thing, that one. We do have very good policies. But I can tell you that to respond, normally it takes us 3 days to a week before we can respond. That needs to improve, especially when everybody's in the house. We need to understand that it's all of us as a responsibility. And therefore, we need to deal with that with a very, we need to treat it as a matter of agency. And you need to understand that it's very important for you to be there first, and then so that everybody can have the information. Because actually what activates the reaction is the information. Now, it is important to improve on the response when the disaster has been called or when it has been reported. The other one is to strengthen the incident command and coordination capacity. Colleagues, the biggest problem that we're having sometimes in our incidents, you find that when we get to an incident where everybody's going up and down and whatever, it becomes difficult to get people that can be assigned to some of the responsibility as the first arriving maybe practitioner on an event. We know that it's not easy, but if we can all prioritize response time, and then it means that some of the things can be prevented and can be dealt with. Why? While you are there, your team member from another department or your team member from another section or even the NGOs are already there, and then you know that you do have a backup, and therefore you can start activating the procedures that we have to deal with. Now, those are the things that we need to definitely bear in mind, and then outline clear roles and responsibilities for all stakeholders. That one, when you work with the technicians or the people that knows how, it is always easier, and then to get the scene right or in order, and then rather than giving people instructions who doesn't know. When you leave them here, you go that side, when you come back, you find that they are no more there. Then you have to start afresh again. But if you have members who knows how to deal with a situation like that, and then you'll find that always, and then you get somewhere quicker. And then when you give responsibility, definitely they know also what to do extra, even if you didn't give instructions. Now, to enhance the readiness and for international and regional disaster support, and then including INSARAG aligned, colleagues, I cannot emphasize it more, and then it is very important, and then actually to consider like your international search and rescue, and then guidelines and alliance with them. And then, okay, and then the other one is, okay, let me just do this, yes. And then the last one, identification of priority investments, and then for infrastructure resilience and risk reduction. And then the next one, which is in conclusion, colleagues, the earthquake response and then exercise serves as a critical step forward, building disaster resilience in Nelson Mandela Metro. And then by what we are doing, colleagues, and then when we are done here, it means that Nelson Mandela will start with their plans, will start with their policies, and then evaluate them and check if they are still relevant. Because the challenge that we are having nowadays in our country, and then in all three spheres of government, you find that whether it can be an MOU, it can be a plan, it can be whatever, you find that most of them, they were since last signed 3, 4, 5 years ago. And you find that there are a lot of loopholes on such decisions or even on that policies. And then it makes it to be difficult for you to respond and then on time, or to call your partners and say, please, let's respond. They will tell you that, no, we are still waiting for approval for the principals and whatever. Now, that thing impacts too much on the response time. And we know that the time, the earlier you arrive on an incident, it can save lives. It can save even property sometimes. Now, what we are saying is those things need to be attended to. And then we are expecting that at the end of this exercise, all of us, we review all our policies. We review our plans. We make sure that we align them with the level or the magnitude of this type of an event, and then that you were dealing with. And then today, the battery is flat. Okay, can you please move this? Okay, you are there on the last one. And then the last one says, to promote collaboration, preparedness, and operational excellence, strengthening South Africa capacity, and then to manage multi-hazards and then disasters. Colleagues, we all know that whether we talk about earthquake or we talk about the flooding incident, the serious one, it doesn't go alone. You find that there's always after effects of the different and then incidents that you have to deal with. And in the addition to that, you still have the burden of identifying the safe shelter and then for the people that has been affected. Now, it is always one thing that is followed by one another. Now, we are saying that as South Africa, we need to promote the collaboration between the different agencies. And then so that you know that when I can just pick up the phone Chief White Boy, you know that no, my problems will be sorted. Now the other thing is, and if you don't do it like that, you will find that always when you have problems, you struggle alone. You struggle alone, and to some area you ended up not being rich in them, and then whereas to other people you find that it's affecting them negatively. And then the other one is to liaison. Okay, lessons learned will guide planning resources and then allocation and policy refinement and then across the spheres of government. We said that when coming to the lessons learned, and then will also influence the way in which we plan, and then in terms of dealing with the disasters, and then in our country. And what is important is, and then if you want to go far, so the people said, who were here before us, they are saying that if you want to go fast, you can go alone. You'll get there now. But if you want to go far, then you need to go with the team. Then you'll walk a long distance, and then without any problem. But alone, you'll only go for the short distances, and then you'll be tired, you end there, and then that's the end of the story. On that short presentation, colleagues, I just wanted to say we can call it a day. Thank you very much.
But there's a request for the WhatsApp group. Mr. Chairman will make an announcement now.
Okay.
Yes, and then the venue, please don't forget the venue.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Good afternoon. This is BBC News. I'm Paul, and I come to you with a breaking news story of an earthquake that has occurred in the region of Gqeberha. It's affected the areas of Nelson Mandela Bay, Sarah Bartman and Buffalo City Metro. Local rescue teams are making efforts to help with the survivors. Many people are unaccounted for, severe building collapses in the area and a massive impact on the infrastructure.
I need to connect this. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I thought that Yapi had closed the curtain on the event, but we're trying to reopen it. So in terms of that announcement, I would just like to let you know from the Disaster Management Center in terms of Circular 25 of 2025, the Disaster Management Center has classified a national disaster in terms of Section 23 of the Disaster Management Act, 57 of 2002, for Tropical Storm Ntombi and the high magnitude earthquake in the Eastern Cape. In terms of the circular, which was gazetted today, this morning, in terms of the 1st of December, we give a description in the several points in the circular of what Tropical Storm Ntombi is, what's the magnitude of the earthquake that struck offshore, 48 kilometers southeast of Port Elizabeth or Gqeberha, and the consequences of this. In terms of the classification, we gazette it and we provide that artifact in terms of Annexure A in terms of the gazette. We also then indicating that the classification then brings upon the strengthening coordination efforts where these teams become involved, and the institutional arrangement both nationally and internationally. On the basis of the classification, we're also issuing a major statement directly after that to all media houses, television networks, and independent reporters. Classification of a national disaster, tropical storm Mtombi, and high magnitude earthquake in the Eastern Cape. In terms of that, implications for the classification means that it's a national government assumed functionality with responsibility for coordinating and managing disaster response both nationally and internationally. The media statement also calls for the activation of international response agencies, and this was issued this morning and signed off by the head of center. Thank you very much.
Now we'll call it a day. Just for your attention, the exercise has officially started.
Sorry, colleagues. Sorry, colleagues, only 1 minute. Only 1 minute. We have just announced to yourself, accept the exercise, and then to say that we'll be having a gala dinner for yourself this afternoon. We said that the venue, it will be at Radisson Hotel. I think we all know it. It will be Radisson Hotel, and then it will start at 6 o'clock. Now we are just requesting all the members maybe to go to different places just to freshen up, and then after that they can make their way up there. And then the dress code is formal or smart casual. Thank you very much. We'll see you there. Sorry, colleagues, somebody lost the phone. If you have lost your phone, please, you can come to me. Is it yours? Oh, this one, it was found now. Who's the owner of the phone? Somewhere there. Yours, sir. It's yours. What is the name of your phone, sir? Yes. You got it? Okay. Somebody lost the phone?
They need to remain behind. Colleagues in the Lima 2025 ERE group, please remain behind. Just the ones in that WhatsApp group, Lima ERE 2025, just for a few minutes. And also the 4 Rescue User 01 for Lima. There are 4 colleagues. That Charles would have briefed you at some point. You know yourselves. The sooner we converge, the sooner we part ways.
Let me just do this quickly. Anyone who might know somebody who has lost the phone, you can refer him or her to me, and then I'll bring it tomorrow, and then here at the exercise, and then